Hey, how we doing, everyone? I'm Martin Tyner with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, and of course, DG is, as always, helping us, and my wife Susan's in the room as well. And I don't have Belle in my glove at the moment, but she'll make an appearance as well. We're going to talk today a little bit about what I consider a really exciting time, and that is the falconry season starts September 1st. And so there's a lot of things that I need to do to get ready for the falconry season. Now I tell people all the time that with an animal that is as easy to work with as Belle, oh, there's nothing to do. I just you know uh, she just misses breakfast and then she's ready to go hunting. That's all it takes, and that's not quite true. That we do have a lot of things to do, but most of the stuff that I'm doing is stuff that I do anyway to keep the birds acclimated and into a routine. And so we're going to kind of talk about that today. People think falconry is magical. How do you get this wild avian apex predator that has the ability to fly away from you at any moment? How do you get them to come back? Well, we're going to tell you exactly how I do that. And the process is called falconry, and the process has been in existence for thousands of years. And the techniques that I use are very much the same as it's always been. So we'll go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing, um, August 1st, magical day for me. August 1st is the beginning of getting ready for the falconry season, which is September 1st. And I have 30 days, and there's a lot of things I have to get done. But the first thing I want to do is I need to make sure what Belle, we're going to talk about Belle today instead of Bud, I mean Scout or some of my other falconry birds. Going to talk about Belle. So I've got to make sure what her fat weight is. Now, since February, Belle has been on vacation. Other than doing wildlife shows, we fed her all that she wants to eat. The hunting season was over. She's not allowed to go out and hunt for stuff. And so she's been on vacation. She's just really an absolutely beautiful couch potato, and she just kind of hangs out and relaxes. Well, start September 1st, she gets to fly free and to go hunt. So we're excited about that. But so the first thing we have to do is we have to understand what her fat weight is. We need to understand because in order to fly her properly, she needs to be at flying weight. But the only way you can establish her flying weight is to know what her top weight, her heaviest weight is, so that we then subtract somewhere between 10 and 20% of her fat weight, and that is her flying weight. And the way that we do that is we have a logbook, and this is my logbook, and this is one of the most important pieces of equipment for any falconer, because what we do with this logbook is in this situation, we start on August 1st. I weigh Belle. I write down her weight. She's had all that she wants to eat, so she's as fat as she can be. Yesterday, she was 1,265 grams. Now I subtract 10%, 20%, and somewhere in there is going to be her flying weight. Now, why I say somewhere in there is because weather conditions have an awful lot to do with it. It's quite hot. It's been nearly 100 degrees for the last several days here, and when it's that warm, the bird is lethargic, and if it's not real hungry, it's not going to respond. So basically, we have to take in not only the bird's weight, but the temperature. And we also have to take in the barometric pressure, because a change in barometric pressure also affects the bird's performance. And then we basically will write in the logbook any specifics, things that we've noticed about the bird's behavior. And so if I walk over to pick her up and she ignores me, I'll write that down. If she's excited to see me, I write that down. If she wants nothing to do with me and wants to fly away, I write that down. If she seems more edgy, if she seems more calm, I just make a little note. And what that does is that allows me to look back at the notes and saying, okay, at this weight, this temperature, this barometric pressure, Here's the performance that I'm looking at. And so that allows me to adjust her weight accordingly, and also time of day as well. So all of those things affect how the bird responds. Now, I've used a variety of different kinds of scales to weigh my birds, and I'm going to kind of show you some of the different kinds of scales so that you will kind of understand. And can you just grab the first one for me, Sue? Thank you. Okay, here's my monster. Isn't that awful? This particular scale, get my hand under it so I can hold it up here. It weighs a ton. I bet this thing weighs, 15, 20 pounds. This particular scale is what we call a counterbalance scale, which means it's got sliding weights, and the bird sits on the perch, and you slide the weights to back and forth to it till it balances, so that the birds, so that we register its weight. This one's kind of special. This scale came out of the Milford Hospital in Milford, Utah. I bought this scale at a yard sale in Milford well over 30 years ago, and I've been using it for scout and for my eagles. So this is one of my eagle scales, and because it's way too big and heavy to use for the hawks. Now, this scale came from the Milford Hospital, and this is the scale that my father-in-law was weighed on the day he was born, because this was the only scale in the little tiny Milford Hospital to weigh babies, and so this was their baby scale. And so this is kind of silly, stupid, but this is a little bit of family history in this particular scale. There you go, sweetie. Thank you. The next scale is also a counterbalance, because I wanted to show you these counterbalance scales. This is another antique scale that, again, is older than I am. And let me show you this one right here. Again, it has the perch, it has the slide weights, and so the bird's weight on the perch causes, and it has a needle right here that gives us our balance point. And these are wonderful. And I've used these, again, for much of my falconry career. I've used these kinds of scales, but they do have a drawback. And so anybody that's looking to get a scale, the problem with these counterbalance type scales, whether it's a 2-beam or 3-beam, it doesn't really matter, is that the movement of the bird causes the scale to shift. And so as the bird fluffs its feathers, moves its feet, and so you have to be very, very patient to get an accurate reading. And accuracy is the key. You've got, actually, even more than accuracy, you need consistency. So the scales need to register consistently across the board. It needs, and so if the scale is 10, 20, 30 grams off in weight, that doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is that it's always 10% or 20% off in weight. And so that's what's really important. Now, the other kind of scale that I've used ever since I was a little kid is what we call the spring scale right here. Now, this particular one, again, is 50 years old. A lot of my stuff is really old. And so this one's about 50 years old, and I've used it for many, many decades. This particular scale is in increments of 5-gram increments. You can get these in half-ounce or quarter-ounce increments as well, but this one's in grams, so a lot of falconers like to weigh in grams. Now, the problem with these scales is they're mechanical, and again, the bird movement obviously causes the needle to shift, so that can be a little issue. But also, since it's all mechanical, and inside of it there's a lot of springs and a lot of dials and a lot of little pulleys and those kinds of things, you always, at the very beginning of the season, the falconry season, you open up the scale and you get in there with a light lubricant, like WD-40 or silicone spray or something, and you spray all the connection points so that the scale functions perfectly. Because consistency is the key. You've got to have these scales read consistent, otherwise you're going to have an issue. Now, those are very traditional. I've used them, like I said, for 50 years. Digital has been the way to go lately, and everything is digital. And digital scales come in all sorts of different sizes. This is a little digital scale. Again, this can measure in 5 gram increments, which is just fine. And this is the scale I take when I travel, because I want to be able to weigh the birds when I travel, so I keep very close track of their weights. And so the perch is just Velcroed on, so it comes off easily. The problem that you have to take into consideration is if I'm going to put a large Harris hawk, red tail, ferruginous, a big bird of prey on this, this is very, very light, and just the slightest movement from the bird can tip the scale over. And so traveling, but I don't use this full time just because I don't want it to fall off the table onto the floor and have the bird fall down. So when I use this, I'm very, very careful. Make sure that the bird does not knock it down. This is my go-to scale that I use most of the time. Right here. Now this has got a heavier base. Again, this measures in grams or ounces, either way. It's a bigger base. It's a lot more stable. Again, the perch comes off for transport if I need. And so this is kind of my everyday hawks and falcons scale that I use for all of my birds of prey. Now, I don't shift scales, so that you understand, even though I have a lot of different scales, I don't use one scale one day and a different scale another day. I use the same scale because I want that consistency. The consistency is the most important thing. And so that's my daily one. And of course, that's not big enough for Scout. That's not big enough for my Eagle, but a digital scale for my Eagle is this one right here. And here's my digital scale for my Eagle. Again, larger, heavier, ounces or grams, the same situation. Works very, very well. Much larger perch, so that the my Eagle can hang on to it. And so this is the one that I use instead of the old Milford Hospital baby scale. This is what I've been using for probably the last 20 plus years, is that scale. So anyway, that's the scales that we use in falconry. And again, the very first thing we want to do is establish a base weight. We want to know how much the bird weighs before the season begins, when they're really, really nice and fat, and then subtract between 10 and 20%, and that gets us in the ballpark for the bird's flying weight. Now, after I've got the scales and I know the scales are in good shape, the next thing I turn my attention to is our radio tracking systems called Telemetry. And again, very, very important piece of equipment that we need to be aware of. There are a lot of different ones out there. Yeah, thank you, Sue. There's a lot of different systems out there. And this is my tracking system that I've had. I've actually got 2 of these. And this is the newer one, and this newer one is about 20 plus years old. My older one's about 30 years old. This is just the one I have.
It's WebGeek here. I think what happened is when they got a phone call, it may have affected the feed. So right now, in my computer, I'm seeing Martin frozen with his old school telemetry. And so what we'll do is we'll just hang out a few seconds, and hopefully he'll probably just sign back in once his connection is reestablished. So in the meanwhile, if anybody's got any questions about Foundation General they want to throw out, or if anything else going on, I can share a comment that I just read to Martin that he liked a lot. It comes from Michael Roy. He said, Martin, Susan, Scout, Belle, Helen, and Cody, and all others, including all subscribers, are like family I've never met. Really feel a kinship here and love all uploads and all of you guys. So we all thought that was really cool. Just read that to Martin and Susan. So I'm still waiting. I'm seeing Martin frozen, but I'll try to hang out here a little bit, because if we shut it down, then you got to change everything, and everybody found us already. So if anybody's got any more questions, or I can go back through the chat. Michael also asked, have any birds become sick from eating animals that were poisoned? So I've got that flag to ask Martin when he comes back. And I'm still just seeing him. Let's hopefully he'll give me a call or something. I should probably see where my phone is. So you don't even know where my phone is. All right, so we're waiting. Well, let me try something. There is a thing. Here we go. Okay, so Martin just signed out. It says he's left the meeting, which means he's probably going to be back shortly. So a few more seconds, guys. Sorry about this technical glitch. Nothing I can do bad from here. So probably back in a few. I was going to try to switch over. This software we're using has an option to play a video. So I don't have anything queued up, but if he comes back in a few seconds, we'll just hang out. Nothing yet, but he's gone. So he was probably staring at himself frozen for a while before he figured out, hey, we should log back in. Oh yeah, on the calendar, Susan was saying that the calendars are going to arrive shortly, but we won't actually put them on sale until later because, you know, who needs a 2021 calendar in 2020? And someone asked here, can I visit and do volunteer work for a couple of weeks? That's something you want to contact the foundation directly about. It's just a matter of if there's events going on or something like that. You can contact us always at info@gowildlife.org. That's our email address. And we're still not seeing Martin back. Man, he must be stressing. Usually he's back by now. Do we stay? Do we go? What's the call, guys? One more minute? Oh, we're getting it.
There we are. We're
hang on
back.
a second. Okay, I'm going to switch over to Martin now. And there we go. We got him back. Are you there, Martin?
Hey, sorry, everybody. Are we good now?
Yep, go ahead. I'm just
getting
you set up again.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. For some reason, our internet is hooked to a phone line, and every once in a long while, if you answer the phone, it kicks me off the internet. So we don't have the best internet connection here. I was talking a little bit about the telemetry, the radio tracking system. These are transmitters, and different sizes, different batteries, different manufacturers, and these transmitters send a signal that is picked up by the receiver, the radio that I just showed you. And so these go on the birds. These are mostly tail mount. You have a little clip that's on the bird's tail, and you slide this up, and so it doesn't affect the bird in any way its flying characteristics. But this allows us that if the bird gets a long ways away from us and we can't visually track the bird, then we have the telemetry in order to do that. And the nice thing is, this is a very old system, but it's been around for many years, and you want to, I've had these for like 40 years or so, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that that this is all working. And so right now it's a big time to make sure that this functions properly, the transmitters, these little transmitters are all functioning properly, that we have fresh batteries, and that everything is working correctly. Now, the reason I like to do this a month ahead of time is if, for say, one of the transmitters or even the receiver, it's electronic, something's go wrong. If we have an issue with that, I can send this back to the manufacturer, and they've been actually really good about getting things back to us quickly, and so I can take those and have them fixed and repaired, and still hopefully get back in time for the start of the season. Now, the reason I have so many different transmitters is for the simple fact that if you lose one of these and you only have one, you're kind of sunk. And so, I like I said, I have, this is a larger one for my Eagle, slim ones for the Falcons, a little heavier duty for the Hawk. So these are different receivers for different birds, and I have at least two of each, so that you don't have an issue, that this is ready to go. And then the next thing that I do is I practice. I practice with the system. I'll have someone go and hide these somewhere in the valley where I have no idea where they are, and I will drive around and I'll swing the directional antenna on the receiver until I pick up a beep, and then I'll go track them down. And so this analog system is certainly a lot better than nothing, but they've got a new system out now that is GPS, and the GPS system actually uses your smartphone and shows actually a Google Map image on your phone of exactly where the signal's coming from, because it's GPS, and the range is a lot longer and it's a lot more beneficial. And let me show you that system right here. Okay, here is the GPS transmitter, and then it comes to a receiver that you have in your pocket, and then from the receiver has an antenna on it, or there's an external antenna that you can put on the roof of your car, and then you have this in your pocket, and this will then transmit a signal by Wi-Fi to your Apple phone. Now, unfortunately, this only does Apple. It doesn't do Android, and it will transport to your Apple phone and give you real-time GPS coordinates of exactly where the bird is. And so that's wonderful. It really is, and that's truly, I've been kind of waiting for something like this to come along for many, many years. It's certainly a much more efficient system than the old analog swinging the antenna, getting a basic direction. This will actually tell me not only give you a GPS reading exactly where the bird is, but if the bird is flying. This will tell you the altitude that the bird is flying at, the direction that the bird is flying. This will tell you if the bird's on the ground, how many feet it is away from you, or miles or yards or whatever, and give you a very, very accurate concept of where the bird is. Now, there is a drawback, and technology has this horrible, horrible drawback. We all know how this works. You buy a new computer, there are bugs. There are things that just flat don't work. You get a new cell phone, there are bugs. There are things that don't work. I bought this system. It was a very expensive system that I bought, and I'm so excited. And I turn it on, and they kind of forgot to tell me that the only phone they use that this will work on is Apple, and that my Android phones won't work. So I had to go get an Android phone, or an Apple phone, because the Android doesn't work, which I wish they would have told me that ahead of time. And then I got it on, I got it all set up, and it looked beautiful, and I was so excited. And then, just to be on the safe side, to please understand, this is new. I don't trust it. So I put on this transmitter that works on the old system, plus this transmitter that works on the new system. And I discovered very, very quickly this doesn't work, and I was incredibly disappointed. There was a software issue between this and the Apple phone, and it took them a year to get it figured out and to get it to work. And so I have this system, which is about, with what I've got here, about $2,000 in stuff I couldn't use because the system still had bugs in it and wasn't as reliable as it should have been. After a year, they got the bugs worked out. They had to do some software and hardware updates. Sounds like computers. I hate it. And they were able to get the system to function. And now it works. But because of my experience, we still fly with this, even though so far this has worked really, really well through the last falconry season. That new system worked well. We still fly with this, just because we just don't want to have a possibility of having a bird lost with a transmitter on that I should be able to just go track it down, and we can't. So we back up everything, back up. So anyway, now that we've gotten kind of past some of this equipment to get you an idea of how the equipment works, we equip the bird. This is this week we put on new bells. Let's see if I can get you stuff here. Show you what we're working on. We get a lot of bells, different sizes. Now, what the bells are for, and I get this question all the time, doesn't that frighten the game away? Makes it harder for the hawk to catch it. By the time a rabbit hears that, it's too late. So this doesn't hinder the bird in any way. But when the bird is on the ground in heavy brush, and with both of these systems, the truth of the matter is, with both of these systems, if you can get within 10 or 15 feet, you're doing good. If the bird is in thick brush, Belle, my Harris hawk, is notorious for going down rabbit holes after the rabbits. And so there's been several times when I have tracked the bird down as close as I can get with the telemetry systems, and I know the bird is within just a matter of feet, but the brush is so thick, or the bird has gone down a rabbit hole, and then I stand very quietly and I listen. And I listen for that little tinkle sound. And then that helps to guide me into where the bird is. And they come in all different sizes. This is what they call a red tail size for a large hawk. These are little Merlin bells for little tiny Sharpshins and Coopers and Merlin falcons. And so they come in a lot of different sizes. There's a lot of different manufacturers of, this is an acorn type. This is a Pakistani bell type. And so there's a lot of different ones. It's a big kind of a preference thing. And then we have swivels. Make sure that your swivel is in good shape. This is what goes on the Jessies, which is the straps on the legs. You want to make sure that those are in good shape. Swivels from, the large hawk to my golden eagle in sizes, but we want to make sure those are all good. I've got a variety of different size swivels, from little tiny ones on up, depending on the animal that I'm working with. Then we have our Jessies. Now these are the leather straps, and they basically go through an anklet, which is just a little bit of leather around the leg, with a grommet punched in to hold the leather in place. Let's see, this is a little grommet right here, and so that holds the leather together, and then this goes through the grommet. And so if the bird does, if we have an issue, we can pull this right out, so that there's not an issue. And I do have little ID tags that we can put on the birds, so if the bird ends up getting lost and somebody finds it, it has my phone number, so that I can be contacted that way. And so we're doing all of these little things to make sure that the birds are safe. This is for the telemetry equipment. That's the little clip that we're talking about. I make those myself, but you can certainly buy them. And these are little telemetry clips that go on the feathers. The round is where it clips on, where pressure fits onto the feather, and the telemetry clips through the little square part. And so that kind of gives you an idea of some of the equipment that we're dealing with here to get these guys squared away and ready to go. And we want to make sure that all of this equipment is in the best shape possible. And you want to make sure that you have duplicates, because I can promise you, anything that you only have one of, like if you only have one transmitter, you're going to lose it. If you have two, you'll have it forever. If you only have one, it's going to get dropped in the field. The hoods, this is a hood that goes on the birds. Again, if you only have one, you're out in the field, you're going to lose it. But if you've got a second one, then you'll have the hoods forever. That's just my experience. That just seems whatever happened to me. And so the whole tracking system, if I have only one, it's going to break. But if I have two, it'll never break. And that's a good example. Like I said, I've had these for 30 plus years, with absolutely no problems whatsoever. And so you always want to be prepared. You always want to make sure that you've got the equipment necessary. And I've got, your glove. You check your equipment, you check your gloves, make sure that the glove is in good shape, that there's no holes in it, because I promise you, if you have a hole in this glove anywhere, and you've got a big hawk like a Harris hawk or my eagle sitting in your glove, if there's the tiniest little hole in this glove, the talon will find it, and then you're going to be having a really bad day with the talon through the glove and into your hand. So make sure that all of your equipment, and so this is kind of what we go through. Just check everything out. That's I made this 40 plus years ago. This is an old hawking bag. It's all stinky and dirty and bloody because it's had lots and lots of dead rabbits in it. So that's one that I made. We have commercially made falconry bags as well that we carry all of our equipment in. So it's just if it sounds like there's a lot to falconry, there is. There's a lot of stuff involved in having this stuff ready and ready to go for the animals. Now let's get back to my project here. Right now, I'm going to grab Belle and I'm going to bring her into the chat with us as well. And so give me just a second, and I'll grab her and bring her back in. Look who's here. Yes, I know, sweetie. What's going on? Hold on. We could just, there you go. That feather out of my mouth. So we have Belle.
Okay, tilt your camera over a little towards Belle's direction.
Okay.
Got to make sure the superstar is framed well.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
There's my girl. And so here is Belle, and so now I can start taking questions from everybody. But while we're taking questions, let me kind of continue talking about this month's process with Belle. And so if you have questions, DG can let me know what they are. But so now we have Belle. We've weighed her. Thank you, sweetie. She pooped, but I've got towels down, so she doesn't mess the couch. Such a good girl. Now, the process that I use, that I think is so very, very important, is that it is now time to rebuild the relationship with Belle. Normally, in a normal year for us, I'm doing wildlife programs throughout the Western United States, and so I have these guys with me doing shows 3 to 5 days a week, and they get lots and lots of personal time. So they're on my glove, and we get to get out to and visit people, and so they get a lot of personal experience. Well, this particular year, because of the coronavirus, we've not been able to do that. We haven't had any shows. All of my shows were canceled, and so we've been doing no shows. So we haven't had that opportunity. That was a great way of keeping the bird and I acclimated to each other. And so she's been pretty much just a sweet, lazy couch potato, and just kind of hanging around. So we have to start the process. And the process now that we've weighed her is now every speck of food that she gets comes from my glove. There's no longer letting her feed by herself. She feeds basically everything right off the glove right here. And so we usually feed her in the morning, but now we're going to feed her in the evening because we're going to be flying her in the evening. And so she didn't have breakfast, but she'll have dinner, and all of the food will be on my glove. And it's one of my favorite experiences, to be honest with you, to sit out in the shade, in the lawn, with my sweet wife Susan and my beautiful hawk Belle and my dum dum dog Cody that we love to death, and just throw the frisbee for Cody and sit there and kind of just hang out with Belle. And so it's makes for a very, very pleasant evening. And we do this just before sunset. Now, once she's acclimated to that process, where every evening I go pick her up from her chamber and we go sit outside and we relax. We start to very slowly reduce her weight because I want her to be that 10% down, 20% down, somewhere in there by September 1st. And so we've got a month. And so we just give her just slightly smaller meals than normal. And the meals are on the glove. And so this will take us about 2 weeks. So we'll get into about mid-August. And so we've been socializing. We've been having a great time, just relaxing, slowly bringing her weight down. And about mid-August, then it's time to start taking her for walks. And so we'll take her out into the field where there are no rabbits. And we'll start going for these wonderful little walks in the evening time. And I'll just keep feeding her on the glove. And then we'll start to make sure that she understands she's the right weight now. And we'll start flying her very short distances, put her up on a fence post, take a few steps away, blow the whistle. That's the dinner bell. She flies to my glove for her goodie, and then we walk for a while. We put her on another fence post, and we do these wonderful little evening walks. And we start to get that routine down so that she feels comfortable out in the field. She starts to be even more responsive to me personally, instead of being a silly old fat couch potato that ignores me. Yes, that ignores me. Then you start becoming more interested because I've got the food. Everything is positive reinforcement. And now that I've got and now that she starts into this in a couple of weeks, this routine of starting to go for these little walks, and she flies off, lands on a fence post. I blow the whistle. She flies back. She gets a little bit of her meal. I don't think people can really understand how truly magnificent it is to walk out through the open deserts around here at sunset, and it's just getting nice and cool. The weather is beautiful, and to have that personal time, allowing a relationship between her and I to build. And then we'll keep doing that until the 1st of September. And the 1st of September, she's done her thing. Yeah, I know, that's Cody. You're going to growl at him? Yeah, you don't like Cody. You're not going to growl at him? You usually growl at Cody. Yes, you do. But, and so it comes up to the 1st of September. We now enter into an area where we know there's a good number of jackrabbits. And we do the exact same routine. 7 o'clock in the evening, getting close to sunset. It's a beautiful night. We go for this wonderful, wonderful little walk. And in a place where there's lots of rabbits, a rabbit takes off running, and then she goes after it and tries to catch it. And so that's kind of the process. And then from there on, it really is nothing more than just consistency. That we go out every day if possible. Obviously most of the time that's not possible, but at least 3 to 5 days a week we try to get her out, and she knows her job, I know my job, and we make a great team. So that is kind of how we get through this method of getting these birds ready for the falconry season. Such a pretty girl, huh, Belle? Does anyone have questions that I can answer for them?
Well, we've got a few things. The first one is we had a donation from Nicholas, and he said, "Hello, Martin. I enjoyed your book. Great stories."
Well, thank you, Nicholas, and thank you for the donation. Again, that is so important to us. We're very grateful because we don't receive a nickel of state or federal funding to care for the animals, and so your donation means a lot. Thank you so much.
And then also, while you took your break and we're off goofing around, we read the comment from Michael Roy that we read before this began. And he has an additional question. He says, have any of your birds become sick from eating animals that were poisoned?
Have any of my personal birds? No. I have certainly gotten my fair share into the rescue center of hawks and owls and eagles and things that have been poisoned either through poisoning rodents or poisoning starlings or other environmental poisons, lead poisoning from eating jackrabbits that have been shot with shotguns, and they eat the dead rabbit and they get poisoned from the lead shot, goes into their digestive system. So yeah, I deal with poisonings quite frequently, but not from my personal birds, no.
We just got another donation from Sherry Cordova. She sent $25.
Oh, well, thank you, Sherry. We greatly appreciate it. Now, was it Donna Sue that? Donna. Yeah. Hey, I hope you're on, Donna. So, Donna sent us a wonderful Rodent Pro gift certificate. For those that would like to help us feed the animals, you can go to our website and order a gift certificate from our frozen food supplier. They're called Rodent Pro, and we use that to purchase frozen rats, mice, and quail to feed the animals. And so, Donna, thank you so much for your gift. It really means a lot to us. And yes, you're such a... Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt Belle there.
Yeah, Belle was talking to me.
Okay, Gregory says, or asks rather, how much of the bond between the two of you is a result of access to the free food as opposed to love? I see a love groove going on here.
Well, I'll be really honest with you. Belle, like all of the birds of prey that I work with, these are opportunistic apex predators. They're motivated by food, and that's really it. That's the big thing. Now, the relationship that I have with her, and that I have with Scout, that I have with Helen, and that I have with the other animals that I work with, the relationship that I have means that they don't need to be as hungry. And so if you have an animal that's afraid of you, it needs to be really, really hungry in order to come to you. But if you have an animal that's very comfortable with you, it'll come to you with nothing more than, yeah, it's dinner time. I'm a little hungry. I'll go fly over to my falconer and see what he has to eat. And so it is both. There is definitely a relationship, a friendship, but that is not the motivating factor. The motivating factor is food.
There's a question we see a lot on the videos, and that's if the birds feel any gratitude towards you.
The birds that I rescue do not, and let me explain why. These are wild animals. They have a very, very strong fight or flight instinct. They have a very strong instinct to fear human beings. And so when these animals come to me, first and foremost, they're really on the verge of death. If you can walk up and pick up an eagle, it's dying. If you can walk up and pick up a hawk, it's dying. The only reason that it allows you to do that, because they're afraid of humans. And so, when I rescue them and I get them to the rescue center here, and I put a feeding tube down their throat. Sometimes I put an IV in their wing, or subcutaneous IV injections into their breasts. Stitches, take out stitches, physical therapy. The only thing they know is that the ones that I rescue, I am this incredibly evil human being that is torturing them. They're getting better, they're healing, but when they're ready to return back to the wild, to be honest with you, they hate me. And that's good. That's a really good thing. That's exactly what we want. We want these animals to go back to the wild, afraid of humans, and stay as far away from humans as possible. So I have to keep a very professional distance from these animals. I don't, my friends like Belle here, I get to build a friendship, and that's truly, truly wonderful. But when it comes to the wild ones, I don't do this. I don't want them to think of humans as friends. I want them to stay as far away as possible to help keep them safe.
Feather Baby Mom says, I love her wiggle butt moves. So cute. Can you talk about why she does that and also about her growl? Is that a unique Belle thing or is that a Harris Hawk thing?
Well, the growl is a Harris Hawk thing. Harris Hawks growl. They don't chirp or squeak or whistle. They growl, and that's her little talk. They have a horrible guttural scream when they're mad. The growl that you hear, that's her little talk, and that's her being sweet and friendly. And the tail wiggle that you see here, that is her really being happy. Um, First thing in the morning when I go to pick her up, her tail just goes crazy, just wiggle, and it's her way of saying, "Hey, Dad, come pick me up. I'm happy to see you." And so that's the tail wagging a Harris Hawk is actually contentment, and so she's pretty happy. Um, is that right? No, I don't have anything for you to eat at the moment. I know you didn't get breakfast, but you're going to get a nice big dinner, I promise. And so, yeah, she's kind of coaxing because, like I said, she usually gets fed about 7 o'clock in the morning, but we're changing her schedule so that she'll be fed every evening instead of every morning. So she's asking for breakfast.
Okay. VK says, Martin, we saw lots of videos with Belle hunting. Are you planning to shoot a video with your Eagle Scout hunting?
The problem with Scout and shooting videos, several years ago, I had a photographer come out that wanted to photograph Scout while we were out hunting, and the photographer offended him. The photographer was just a horrible person around animals. I mean, their body language, the movement, and bumping and dropping stuff, and it just aggravated. It just aggravated Scout to no end. And then the next day, I had a different photographer come out that wanted to photograph Scout hunting. And so I turned Scout loose, and he flew up on top of the ledges and I thought everything was just fine. I was just kind of going through the brush, flushing, and Scout came down and attacked the photographer. Eagles are incredibly intelligent, and eagles are kind of like wives. If you offend them, they never forget and they never forgive. And so I have been really nervous about taking anybody out with Scout for fear that he could really injure someone severely. And so the only thing that I've been doing with Scout is just he and I having our personal time to go fly together. Now, Belle, on the other hand, I've had lots of people come out in the fields with Belle, and Belle is quite fun, and I'll actually give strangers gloves and says, if you hear the bells ringing coming up from behind you, hold your hand up, and she'll land on your arm, and then you just keep walking, and she'll hunt off your glove as well as she hunts off of mine. And so Belle works really well with strangers, but Scout can be dangerous. So we just haven't. I just haven't felt safe to have somebody out there videoing Scout and I. I hope that makes sense.
We just got a donation from Zelda R, who sent $24.99.
Oh, thank you, Zelda. That's very kind of you. Again, we certainly appreciate everything that you guys are doing for us.
And we got a reminder from Feather Baby Mom to mention Rodent Pro.
Okay, we did mention Rodent Pro and Feather Baby Mom. We mentioned that you made a donation to get us a Rodent Pro gift certificate. And so, yes, go to our website. Rodent Pro is the company that we purchased the frozen rats and mice and quail from. You can also go to our website, and we do. What's Sue? Yes. We also. You can go to the website, and we have an Amazon wish list of things that if you money is wonderful, that helps us. But if you would like to buy a present for these guys, we have a wish list of things that you can buy to help us with the birds, as well on our website. And of course, we have. Did you grab a book, Sue? We have our little store. We have some of my wildlife photography that you can purchase to help raise money for the foundation. And then we also have my book out, and Susan just went to grab a copy. And I'm sorry that I have to peddle these books, but we do. There we go. There's my girl. I know. It's Susan. Belle, it gets nervous around Susan. But this is my book, Healer of Angels. The eagle that's on the front cover is Scout, my golden eagle that is my wildlife ambassador that we use for falconry. And Scout has autographed the book. That's his footprint. And so it's the only book in the world autographed by a wild eagle. And again, the profits from the sale of the book go to our rescue center, help us feed the animals. I encourage people, if you can get the book at Barnes & Noble and Amazon and all the normal places. But if you buy it directly off the website, we get the profits. If you buy it from Barnes & Noble or Amazon, we get like 60 cents. And so I encourage everybody, if you want a copy of our book, and there's stories in there about the first elephant I trained. There's stories about when I was a young child terrified of birds. There's stories about working with big cats. So it's an animal book of my life experiences. It's a fun read. And again, the profits help us feed animals. So we appreciate everyone who buys a copy of the book.
Can you talk some more? Can you talk some more about body language? Because like Susan is all that with dogs. They do whatever she says, whatever she wants. But then she gets near Belle in like a whole different world. So it would seem like, she has such a great presence with the dogs, but it just wholly doesn't transfer over to the other critters.
My sweet, beautiful wife, Susan, the way Susan and I make a living, we own a dog grooming shop. And she's very, very good with the dogs. They are domestic animals. They are not wildlife. The wild animals pick up on body language even more than domestic animals do, than dogs or cats. And so Susan, she never does anything wrong, but she's a little fidgety, and her actions are a little too quick. And so with these guys, it just they just get a little bit nervous when Susan comes around because of her fidgety personality. But it has nothing to do with Susan's character. Like I said, she's the sweetest, most beautiful person on the planet. But it's just her movements. Yeah, she actually has landed on Susan's glove in the field, but here at the house, in fact, that's kind of interesting because Belle, when she's out in the field, is a lot more tolerant than she is when she's around the house because she feels her freedom. They have what we call a fight or flight instinct, and so she feels not threatened because if she wants to, she can fly away. But when she's on my glove or in the house or someplace confined, she's a little bit more nervous about being around people.
Okay, we've got a question from Mr. Moon. He has said, has Belle ever socialized with other golden eagles in the wild? But I think he meant to say with other Harris-hawks, obviously. But it's kind of an interesting point there because about how the two birds, like Scout and Belle, will never hang out, right?
Yes. Now you have to understand when it comes to birds of prey, they are apex predators and they kill and eat other birds. And so in my falconry career, I have lost 4 of my personal wildlife ambassador falconry birds to other predators. I've lost 2 to coyotes, where they were on the ground eating and a coyote got to them before I could get and to them and pick them up. And I've lost 2 to golden eagles. And the golden eagles caught them in flight and then hauled them off to a ledge and killed and ate them. And so, Belle right here does not socialize with any of the other birds of prey. Helen, the peregrine falcon, doesn't socialize with Belle. They would kill each other, and my Eagle Scout would find them both delicious. And so we do have to keep them separate. And so that means that I have to step in and socialize. Now, in the wild, my golden eagle Scout does soar with the wild eagles. They'll soar the ledges and those kinds of things. But most of these birds are primarily a solitary hunter. And so if they're soaring a ledge and the conditions are good, you might have two or three eagles soaring that ledge, but they're not really kind of hanging out together. It's just that's a convenient place and it's good lift, and so they just kind of ignore each other as they pass. Now the Harris hawk is a bit different in that the Harris hawk is one of the only birds of prey in the world that maintains a family group, and they hunt as a group like a pack of wolves. And so, if you ever get down into southern Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas, and you find Harris hawks, if you find one, there'll probably be three, four, five of them, and they'll set up their hunt around a field, and one will fly down and flush a rabbit, and the other ones will come in from different directions. And it's really remarkable to watch them plan out their hunts. Like I said, so intelligent, and the Harris hawks hunt as groups, and falconers have taken advantage of this. There are a lot of falconers around the country that will have two, three, four, five Harris hawks, sometimes more, as a gang, and they turn all the Harris hawks loose, and they go out with four or five guys flushing out rabbits, and you have this whole gang of Harris hawks going after the rabbits, and it's a really interesting process to watch. And so if you ever get to go gang hawking with a group of falconers or Harris hawks, take advantage of that. It's really amazing to watch these birds work as a team. Now, Belle, she's my only Harris hawk, and I'm her gang. And yet, when other people come in the field, I give them gloves, and so they become part of the gang, if that makes any sense. Um, but again, they're not so much socializing as they are exploiting us, because they're the hunter and we are their dogs. Our job is to flush the quarry for them to catch.
S. Dixon asks, does Belle enjoy the ambassador part of her role as much as hunting?
She really does. Now, if I were to set her down and move away, I'm her security, and so she likes to be with me, and she doesn't mind, standing in an auditorium with 500 screaming kids. That doesn't bother her. Would she rather be out chasing rabbits? Absolutely. I'd rather be out chasing rabbits in an auditorium with 500 screaming kids as well. But the Harris hawk, because of their personality, really lends itself to being a great wildlife ambassador. My golden eagle Scout is hilarious. He tortures me relentlessly. That we can be out doing a program, and Scout will try to steal buttons off my shirt. He'll steal my glasses out of my pocket and throw them out into the audience. And you can watch him, and only I can tell this, but he has the biggest smile on his face when he gets me off script, so I forget where I'm at and I'm stumbling, and he just thinks that's very hilarious to embarrass me.
Well,
Pretty Belle.
we have a question. I am scrolling back trying to find it, but I remember that someone wants to know in regards to the video about the two Cooper's hawks that you got at the Cedar City Park. She's wondering if the parents will get it together and not have a nest there next year.
Boy, I hope so. Here's the problem. A lot of things are happening. The Cooper's hawks like to nest in very large, either cottonwoods or Chinese elms. They like to nest in canyons where there's a stream, so there's a water source nearby. Unfortunately, a lot of the Cooper's hawk habitats, people are building in these canyons, and a lot of their habitat is being lost. And so we're finding more and more and more Cooper's hawks nesting in city parks. And so this is the first year they nested in the Cedar City Park. Prior to that, it was always a little pair of kestrel falcons that were nesting in the park in an old woodpecker hole in a tree. I knew exactly where it was, and every year we'd get 2 or 3 baby kestrels that we'd pick up at the city park, and have to take care of. If I could just convince people to leave them alone, they'd be fine. But people won't leave them alone. Um, so down in St. George, there's 2 or 3 parks in St. George that have Cooper's hawk nests. And so the Cooper's hawks are starting to expand out. I've got a pair of Cooper's hawks that nest a block behind me here in the subdivision, because now here in the subdivision, we've got lots of big old cottonwoods and lots of big old Chinese elms, and the Cooper's hawks are kind of expanding out. So I've got a pair of Cooper's hawks in this subdivision. The next subdivision over, I've got a pair of Cooper's hawks as well. Swainson's hawks, again, notorious for nesting in and around subdivisions and big cottonwoods, Chinese elms as well. And so that's causing more and more. Is that right? No, he just looked over at Cody and decided to yell. And so, oh, my light just went out. Well, there you go. It's been one of those days,
well,
guys.
We just got another donation from Sabrina, so maybe you can pay the light bill with that.
Actually, it's the bulb in my light that I can just see it burned out. I have these spotlights that we use for photography, and we put and have really bright bulbs in them, and the bulb just went out. And I've had that particular light set for like 20, 30 years, and the bulb just finally gave up on me. So sorry about it, guys. You're just gonna have to. And that way, I'm not quite as ugly because you can't see me quite as well.
Well, along with their donation, Sabrina also said thank you for the continued work, education, and stewardship.
Well, thank you, Sabrina. And somebody's got to take care of these critters. And here in southern Utah, that just happens to be me. And it's been a. Yes, I know Cody sat up. Oh my gosh, you got to tell him off. Yes, he does. Cody knows better than to bother Belle, so he kind of got up and moved closer to Susan for protection. But Belle's never hurt Cody, but she certainly tells him off.
We just got another donation from Randall Cotton. He says, thanks so much for streaming again. Fascinating topic, and for all your wonderful, inspiring work.
Well, thank you, Randall. I appreciate it. We are so grateful for all of you. And I hope this kind of, I hope I did a good job kind of walking through the next month of getting the birds ready to go and showing you some of the equipment. And you can certainly, if you have questions, you can certainly go on the website and send us an email, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And like I said, if you like, a copy of the book, that's a very fun read, and the money goes to our rescue center. Any last questions about getting these guys ready for the season?
Well, we're at 10:02, but there is one interesting question. If you want to take one more.
Sure.
Okay, this is from Sean B. Is there a difference between the birds personalities-wise? Like, will one be shy, one confident? Do you notice?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not only is each bird in a clutch different, each species of birds are different. And so, a Harris hawk is very different than a Cooper's hawk, which is very different than a peregrine falcon, which is very different than a red tail, which is very different than an eagle. And just because you've, let's say, mastered, but I don't like that word because you never master this, you're always learning. But just because you've mastered one species of bird, you pick up another species of bird and you're an apprentice again. You're starting all over again. You're trying to understand their thoughts and their personalities and their issues. And you have to adapt your style of falconry to the individual bird. So with Belle here, there's some very slight differences between this Harris hawk and my previous Harris hawk. I've had Harris hawks for over 40 years, and each one of them was a little bit different, and each one of them had their own personalities and their own likes and their own dislikes, and it's my job to adapt to that so that we are able to work together as a team. It's just like any other team. If you have a football team or a soccer team, every kid has his own personality, and you try to capitalize on what they do well and minimize what they don't do well, and have someone that does that well in that position. And it's the same with these guys.
Okay, well, can we just go ahead and end with a reminder about getting Scout his plaque?
Yes, we are getting close to the 100,000 subscriber uh, level, and at the 100,000 subscriber level, um, we get a plaque, and it also opens up opportunities and things for us and for our YouTube channel, which is actually more important. But we get this plaque now. The We get to choose the name on the plaque, and since Scout is the really the star of the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, um, we would like to have the plaque in Scout's name. And so, if I can encourage everybody, if you haven't subscribed, it's free, obviously. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Have all of your friends subscribe. Let's get us over that 100,000 subscriber mark. Again, that benefits our YouTube channel, and so that we get the plaque. And what we'll do is we'll take the plaque and we'll hang it up in Scout's chamber. So he will be the only golden eagle in the world with his 100,000 subscriber YouTube channel plaque. And so we would love to have everybody, have all of your friends. Like I said, subscribing doesn't cost anything. You just click the subscribe button, and let's get us, because we're so close, get us over that 100,000 mark so that Scout can have his plaque. And again, guys, certainly appreciate all of you. It means the world to us. I hope you enjoy this kind of a video. I know it's a little bit off the wildlife rescue topic, but I thought it was, it's exciting to me because this is the beginning of my season, and I wanted to share it with all of you guys how excited I am to get started and have a new season of flying birds. So again, thank you guys, thank you DG, thank you Susan, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
And thank you, Belle.
Thank you, Belle.